I want to describe to you a simple speedometer that you can make to go on a skateboard or a longboard. And if you look at the skateboard or a longboard, you've got the classic sort of skateboard there, either made out of wood, laminate wood, or sometimes they're even made out of metal. You've got the wheels, of course. You've got the trucks, which hold the wheels, but also allow you to steer. And you've got 4 wheels, a board, and of course, by skating on this thing, you can control it and do tricks. What got me into longboarding was these 3 guys, Aaron, Adam, and Paul. If you go to YouTube and put in long treks on longboards, these guys are traveling in South America and Morocco for over 1,000 miles on longboards. So they've got backpacks and they camp out and they tent out. And they're just doing these incredible adventures going through these countries on longboards. I took my longboard to New Zealand. I do workshops all around the world in New Zealand. They invited me down. I did some talks at a conference and some workshops, and I had 8 days, and I took the longboard down to the South Island of New Zealand. I did think about hiring a bike, but the trouble with a bike is that you're stuck with the bike, basically, and you've got to bring it back. With the longboard, I can just attach it to the back of my backpack and go walking. Whenever I want to, I can take the longboard out and go off. So I used it a bit like a bike. And the thing about a longboard is actually quite nice. It's even better than the bike in many ways. The way you're standing on the longboard, because you're side on usually, it's particularly easy to look behind you. So you have quite a good feeling of what's around you. You can't get punches like you do on a normal bike. You can carry it on a backpack, which you can't really do on a bicycle. It keeps you fit, and it's a lot more exciting than a bike. So it was absolutely amazing. I skated all the way from Hokitika to Lake Canary through the mountains, and it was just absolutely brilliant. What I want to describe today is a speedometer that you can make to put on your skateboard or longboard so you can measure your speed, and as we'll see a bit later on, you can do other things as well. This is all being written up in an article. I'm going to show you a website at the end of this little movie where you can look up how to make this for yourself, and then you can actually start measuring your speed while out and about and doing tricks on your longboard. So here's a classic longboard. This is a loaded dervish longboard. And you can see that the top of the board there, and I've turned it over, and you can see there's a little metal box there. That's the electronics of the speedometer. And if we zoom in there, I've developed 2 different ways of measuring the speed. Basically, what you're doing is you're measuring the rotation of a wheel. And of course, the faster you're going, the more revolutions you'll get per second on the wheel. So if you can have some system by which you can determine how quickly the wheel is going round, and obviously you can use that to work out how fast you're going. So let me show you this 2 different techniques on the skateboard and the longboard. So over here, I've got a standard sort of skateboard, and I think you can see here, I've taken one of the wheels and I've modified it and put a load of little plastic mirrors on the wheel. And as I spin it, of course, you can see the mirrors going round. And this particular setup uses an infrared beam. There's a little infrared LED here which sends a beam of light up. And when the wheel's in the right position, it bounces the light back onto a detector here. And so as this spins, it produces pulses in the detector, and you can use that to work out the revolutions of the wheel and therefore the speed. So that's the first technique. Another technique I've got here, which actually in some ways is better. On the longboard, rather than having a mirror which reflects light, here I've got a little magnet. So the magnet is screwed into the side of the wheel. As the wheel turns, it goes past a little magnetic sensor which produces a pulse every time it goes past. And so the faster the wheel spins, the more pulses you get in the detector, and that goes to the electronics which converts it to a voltage proportional to speed. So with these different techniques, you can actually measure your speed on a longboard. If I go back to here. So these are the 2 techniques here. We've got the magnetic sensing here. You can see the magnet sort of screwed into the wheel. Screwing into the wheel is fine, doesn't seem to do any harm. These wheels are incredibly strong. We'll talk a bit more about the chemistry and the physics of the wheels later on. Here's the magnetic sensor, and over here you can see the one that uses the infrared beam and the mirror. So inside that little metal box, you've got some batteries, you've got a little data logger which measures a voltage every second, and you've got a simple bit of electronics. The nice thing about the magnetic sensor is that it's actually got less components counts than the infrared one. So I won't go into the details of the electronics here, but it's all on the website, and you can build all the electronics for this for £10 or something. So it's not a massive amount of cost for the electronics. You do need a data logger, but these are pretty cheap as well. So there's various ways you can calibrate this, and I'll go into this in a bit more detail later on. But basically, the simplest way is either to find a mile route with not many people on and time how long it takes to go along that mile. Or you can go to a gym and get one of these sort of rolling road treadmills that you use for doing your exercises, set it up for various speeds, and take a measurement for a few seconds at each of the different speeds. And that's exactly what I did with the infrared one here. You can see you get a different voltage for different speeds. So you've got speeds going along the bottom here and the voltage created going along the top. And it's not exactly linear. It may be partly because the treadmill machine wasn't that accurate. I don't know. But you can see as you go faster and faster, you get a bigger and bigger voltage. And what you can do then is you set up the little data logger on your computer. You take it out of your computer, you put it in the box, screw it all up, go out skating. It takes a measurement every second, which is a measurement proportional to speed. And then as you go out traveling around on your skateboard, then once you're back, you can take out the data logger, put it in your computer, and you can download the information. And you get an idea of how fast you're going at different points on your journey. So here I've got a nice little, there's a stretch of pavement near the sea where I live, which is usually fairly empty. It's a mile long. And this is the results I got for that mile run. And you can see that as I started, it started pretty slow, and as I went up, it produced a higher speed, and every time I pushed on the board, it produced a little peak. And you can use this for calibrating the speedometer. So you can download this into a spreadsheet. The voltage you get out is proportional to speed, and then you simply multiply all these little data by a constant to get it in miles per hour or meters per second or whatever speed you want, and then you can graph it. And you can get all the information on a nice graph of your speed while out in traveling around. I'm going to talk more detail about this and how you do it in another video. So please check my website out. All the details are there of how to make this little speedometer for your skateboard or longboard. And then you can generate data while you're out and about doing tricks. And it's a brilliant way of getting used to a bit of physics and a bit of maths as well.